Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I am Danielle Towns. I am a manager of of Business Development and Partnerships at the National Math and Science Initiative. And I am so grateful to have the opportunity to introduce you all to a friend of NIMSY, Mr. Marcus Blackwell, who has not only been a STEM advocate in his own right, but has been a great collaborator with NIMSY, as we'll get more into this afternoon. But before we start, his bio is in the description, but I'll give you all just a little bit of that, a sampling, if you will. So Mr. Marcus Blackwell is the CEO and founder of Make Music Count, a math curriculum taught through music. He received a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from Morehouse College and has played professional gospel piano since the age of 16. Before founding Make Music Count in 2013, he worked as a modeling analyst for GE Energy and as a music director for Elizabeth Baptist Church in Fairburn, Georgia. In a time of education reform and digital learning, Marcus dedicates his energy to developing creative methods that include STEAM and culturally relevant methods to allow students to meet their full educational potential. His company partners with school systems, enrichment organizations, and directly to parents to connect the mathematical dots where the traditional methods of teaching fall short. Marcus believes that school systems can reform when curriculum is created where students see their culture in every lesson. Make Music Count empowers students to learn and apply math concepts using piano notes and popular music from artists such as Cardi B, Lizzo, and Beyonce. And to date, Make Music Count has more than 200 school partners and has served 45,000 students. So following that impressive just resume and contribution to the collective, to the community, I would like to welcome you, Mr. Blackwell, to our third conversation of the STEM Pathway series.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to share a little bit more today. So thank you.
Great. Well, part of our audience may be familiar with you through your participation in our STEM Adventure series, which launched last summer, which was just designed to be a very engaging, informative opportunity for NIMSY schools, partners, families, and caregivers to interact online. But for those who are not familiar with you, would you mind kind of starting at the beginning? What is your origin story, particularly as a youth? What did you enjoy about STEM and what eventually led you to your work?
Okay, wow. Everything for me starts with playing the piano. I've been a pianist since the age of 5. I studied classical, jazz, and then transitioned over to gospel music. My father is a gospel pianist, so I grew up singing in his youth choirs, sitting next to him on the organ. My mom is an educator and started as a kindergarten teacher and went all the way up through teaching elementary and then becoming assistant principals, and deans. So that's really my background. To go a little bit deeper, my roots are grounded in church and in faith. I wasn't a preacher's kid, but pretty close because I was definitely in there 5 out of 7 days out of the week, just from the musician perspective, right? You know, if your dad's a pianist, you're there whenever the church doors are open. So that is my origin story. I've actually always been a fan of science, always. You know, I've always just I think I went to a math and science academy called the Greater Hartford Academy of Math and Science in Hartford, Connecticut. And it was a high school, but I went half day between that school and my home school in Windsor, Connecticut. So always been a fan of science. But what actually led me to creating Make Music Count was issues I had with mathematics. And it was simply because of the way that math is often presented. Sometimes it's presented in like a one size fits all. Either you're going to learn it this way or that's it. And so me going to this special school for math and science, I was just really conflicted. Like, well, I'm doing really well in science. Why am I having a disconnect in math? And why is no one providing extra assistance for me? If I'm not getting it this one way, isn't there another way to apply and understand these concepts? Right. And, for me, again, talking about my parents, I couldn't bring home bad grades. So I'm like, look, I need you guys to help me here. Like, I can't go home saying, well, I just am not gonna be able to get math, right? So what happened is that created a chip on my shoulder, because when I realized that not only were the teachers unable, but not willing to give me an additional way to learn, I had to take matters into my own hands. And it literally just became this aha moment where I realized that you can't play the piano without understanding math, right? When you think about rhythm, when you think about reading sheet music, time signature, all that stuff when related to music is math understanding. And so I've always wondered, well, why isn't it that someone didn't pull me to the side and say, hey, Marcus, did you know that all that piano that you're doing is actually math understanding? Because that connection would have been all I needed as far as confidence to say, you know what, if I'm playing at this certain level of piano, it's got to mean I'm equally as good in math as well. So I didn't figure that out till college, but in college is when I transitioned over to being a math major to kind of, face my fears head on, and to, let math know that it wasn't going to defeat me any longer, because I now could connect my passion of playing the piano to it.
Yeah, wow, that's fascinating. So you brought us from your time as a youth to how you recognize some challenges in math, how you faced them head on in college, which I guess leads to the next question, which is um, what you took from college, and your experience as a pure mathematics major and your love for the piano, and to Make Music Counts. So can you tell us more about this work with Make Music Counts, and like how you're leveraging STEM and STEAM to impact communities and to support students?
Yeah. So I would say that the seed was planted in high school for the interest in both math and music, but the idea was kind of created while I was at Morehouse, and that's why Morehouse is one of the best decisions I ever made, was to go to Morehouse College, because it creates an environment that allows African American males to think outside of the box. And so I went through this, period of kind of self reflection where I was a business major first, but I was having trouble with accounting, but always just kind of had this idea that math and music were kind of connected. So, being surrounded by those excellent professors that supported this idea gave me, again, the confidence I needed to pursue math as a degree. And I actually did my senior thesis on how group theory and mathematics connected to music. So they made it real for me, and also in college, you learn the value of community service. So the way that Make Music Count actually started was actually as a community service project once I graduated. I graduated, and I, as you mentioned, worked for GE. But once a week, I actually would go to a local school in Atlanta and teach these lessons, just because I was like, well, this is something that really helped me. I wonder if it would just be helpful to some other kids. And so that's where I really started to learn the value of cultural relevant learning, because, if I'm gonna go and teach middle school students mathematics in after school programs after a full day of class, you're not really gonna have a good shot if it's not something they're interested in. So my very first lesson was teaching students how to play two chains I'm different on the piano by applying fractions, and it was an automatic hit. So um, I actually just kept going back week after week for about 6 months, and then another school called South Cobb High School and said, hey, we could use what you're doing here to help our high school students who haven't, met the requirements for mathematics during the school year. So that's what allowed me to then make the transition from being an engineer to a full-time entrepreneur with Make Music Count. So again, it's everything in my story has led up to, Make Music Count, whether it's the struggling with math, the environment of having good teachers and professors that believed in what I was talking about, because that's another big thing, is like, getting past the idea of am I crazy for thinking about this, right? And having a support system that tells you, no, go after it, right? So that's what's really, allowed all this to kind of get started and grow.
Yeah, that's huge. And in thinking of, you've created that hook, that thing that catches their attention, and through engaging students with your product, the app, how do you believe it's really changing the trajectory for students as it relates to STEM access, equity, and then continuity of engagement?
Yeah, so what we believe is that there's no such thing as a student that cannot do math. It's just confidence. So our mission is to um, persuade students to give math a shot so that it opens up opportunities for them that they wouldn't have if they didn't pursue mathematics or a STEM field, right? We want to push more students towards the STEM fields in college, but it starts with mathematics. That's the foundation of all of it. And we just want to give students a shot, to say, you know what, I actually can do this, and once you kind of have that initial belief in yourself, you'll pursue it. And who knows, we'll create more engineers, more scientists, more people that'll go to space. If we just open the opportunity of, here's something that you'll need if you want to pursue there, right? So, you know, I do believe that Make Music Count, we focus on culturally relevant learning because it's about leveling the educational playing field, right? If students are able to see themselves, their culture, and what they're learning, they're automatically going to be engaged more. And all I did was connected that dot by using music that students listen to. And then the extra, icing on the cake is, oh, by the way, you're going to learn how to play an instrument from doing this as well. So that's how we're, tackling the, equity piece and just, again, creating a level playing field. And, what's interesting about this whole culturally relevant learning piece is that everyone has a culture, right? So, whereas people would think that we create a Make Music Count for one certain demographic, yes, in a sense, to level the playing field, but we include everyone's culture, everyone's music, can be connected to mathematics. And, that's how we essentially see us being able to move forward. It's like, we want to be able to connect the popular songs from Asia and the popular artists from the UK and whoever's popular in Australia, right? So it's bringing this whole new conversation about rethinking curriculum to better represent the students that it's trying to educate.
Yeah, so I've had an opportunity to see the product in action, but was wondering, as we've talked a bit about it, and we've mentioned how you have songs that you've coded for Lizzo, Beyonce, et cetera. If there's an opportunity for us right now to just have a peek
Yeah.
at the app itself.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. So, um, I would love to be able to share. So, this app is actually available for anyone to download. If you just search Make Music Count in the Apple Store or in the Google Play Store, it works for phones, iPads, tablets, and also computers and stuff. So, let's just go ahead and dive in just really quickly. So, the great thing about Make Music Count is that you do not need to know how to play the piano for this to work. The math application will teach you exactly how to play your favorite song. So our curriculum is for second and third graders all the way up through 12th grade, because the way this works, you select the math subject you'd like to work on. So we have fractions, decimals, times tables, division, algebra, pre-calc, and calculus. So if we were to, just start with fractions, you pick the subject you want to work on, and then up pop the songs that you would like to learn how to play. And of course, our dangling carrot is the fact that these are the songs that students are listening to on the radio. So let's do Old Town Road. How about that? All right. So here's how this works. We're not looking at the piano as an instrument. We're looking at it as a number line. And all that means is I took everything that had a musical definition and gave it a math definition. So in music, if you were to move from F, the white key, to F sharp, the black key above it, that's called a half step. All right. And all I did was I turned it into a math expression. So the question on top says F sharp plus one. F sharp is the black key in between F and G. And then you're just going to move in half intervals until you get to one. So F sharp to G is a half. And then G up to G sharp is another half. So F sharp plus one would equal G sharp. And so all you're doing, again, is just counting in half intervals, and then your answer is where you would end up. So for this one, it says A flat plus one and a half. So A flat to A is a half, A to A sharp is one, and A sharp to B is another half, right? Right. And so what happens is when you finish your answers, again, subtraction just means you count to the left, right? When you finish your questions, the reward is you get to hear the song, and your answers that you provided are going to light up on the piano so that you can play along on the bottom.
Take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I got the horses in the back, horse stock is attached. Head is matted black, got the bushes black to match. Riding on a horse, you can whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been up on that porch. Can't nobody tell me.
All right. So yes, the music is the reward for correct math application. And then we always finish our lesson with a math quiz at the end, right? Without music. So it's great that you've done the math to produce the notes to play the song, but now show me you can do it without the music, right? And we always find that students are actually then convinced that they can actually do the math without the music. So that's how lessons work. And like I said, we do other things like times tables, division, algebra. Just to show one quick one, just to show a different level. If we were to do dividing by 4. Oh, here's your Lizzo song. So let's try this one out really quick. And so just to see how things kind of progress for this, not only does every question focus on dividing by 4, but it also incorporates order of operation. So the reason why I wanted to show these examples is because this looks like math. It feels like math. There's a timer counting down, right? We wanted to make sure that all the things that students feel in the math classroom, they feel here as well. You know, we're not interested in tricking students to where they don't feel like they're doing the math, or in most cases, some people use music to mask actually doing the math. No, for us, you need to tell me what 4 divided by 4 is, right? And be able to calculate that and then apply it to the piano as a number line. So and then for us, we always use music as an end reward, right? So for this one, solve what's in the parentheses first. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then you would do E minus 2 on the piano. And E minus 2 is, remember, 4 half steps to the left, which would be E. So if you're looking at this and you're like, man, this really feels like math, that's good. That's on purpose, right? We're trying to get students and adults comfortable with feeling the math, right? And being able to push through it. So, and then of course, when you finish, it's gonna play the actual song. So let me go ahead and do these last ones. And you know, also, I didn't mean to bring this up, but a lot of adults like using Make Music Count too. Because if you're looking at this like, man, I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano, but I'm not really interested in the, you know, technical music theory route. This is a really easy way to be able to learn how to play your favorite songs as well. And what's cool about this is that it's not just songs where you play with one finger. You're going to have some chords as well. And so you'll walk away actually really learning how to play the piano. So this last one is, let's see, 5 minus 2 is 3, and then A sharp minus 3 is E. And then, of course, your reward is you get to hear the song and you can play along on the piano.
great. I just took a DNA test, turns out.
Right. So that's how it works. It's a lot of fun. It's very addictive. There's popular songs for young kids, and there's even some classics that, a lot of us older adults are interested in as well. Um, you know, this app also tracks how well you're doing by math subject based on those quizzes. So it's like real time feedback. We have a section that saves all the songs that you've solved, so that you can just practice them on the piano. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if I were to just kind of share the results that we see is a wide range, right? So this is excellent for students who have low confidence and low performance in math. This will catch them up. This has been really excellent for students with special needs on a wide range from, light cases like dyslexia to severe autistic cases. But it's also been great for students who are excellent at math, right? Oftentimes, students who are technically minded don't think that they can learn an instrument, and now they can. And so, like I said, this is a wide range of what success looks like, because a lot of kids who may not have been interested in playing an instrument before, now will be like, man, I want to play the piano for real, So, uh, hopefully, that was a good example of what the app actually does.
Well, absolutely. I'm here for it, as I say, supporting students as young as second grade all the way through 12th grade. Again, building that math confidence, even introducing and giving some confidence to those technically minded folks like myself who don't believe I'm super creative and have shied away from instrument. This may be,
Yeah.
yeah, how I can kind of get in the game and learn the piano.
Mhm.
Seems super, super fun. So question for you. So with all that's been going on, I know you've had some tremendous success in the Atlanta area working with school partners, 45,000 students. How have you had to pivot due to COVID? And within the pandemic, have there been any new sort of innovations to the project and to your, I guess, approach to this work and serving students in schools?
Yes, we definitely had to pivot. When I first built the app, it was specifically for school usage, right? That came with training, and when the pandemic hit, all the schools closed. And so I was looking like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Because if you were to have looked my app up in the App Store, it wasn't made for home usage, right? So I actually rebuilt my entire app during the pandemic so that parents would be able to go into the App Store, find it. There's now instructional videos that can walk you through how the math works. It's more gamified. So, I'm actually really grateful for that opportunity. The other thing that we realized would be helpful is now that everything is virtual, and teachers are just doing so much to get students engaged and to still learn in these tough times. We actually we rebuilt our business model. So before, we were doing enrichment classes directly in schools, um, a physical class, and I actually would hire college students and send them to the schools. But now what we decided to do is we're actually going to train teachers on the Make Music Count curriculum and actually pay them as if I would have paid my actual employee, if that makes sense, for them leading our enrichments with their students. And we just felt that in the pandemic, it's tough on everybody, but definitely tough on teachers. And I wanted to find a way that I'd be able to give directly back to them to, have some additional revenue for their pocket, to have some additional money for resources for class. And so we're calling it the Make Music Count Academy, where any teacher, you don't have to be a pianist or a math teacher, any teacher can um, request an opportunity to be trained in the enrichment and essentially lead this class with your students that you already have a personal connection with, that who may need the extra help. And by the way, your students are going to think that you're super cool for knowing, the latest Lizzo or Migos or whatever, right? So um, it just really made sense. We we felt that we needed to bring back the enrichment feel instead of just being an individual app for people to use, because I'll be honest, the magic happens in the specific classroom setting around Make Music Count when the students are talking to each other about the songs in the app, which turns into conversations around mathematics. And that's when we start to see the actual improvement that I talked about before. It's very different than if you're just an app that people can download and use, at a random 5 minutes in math class or music class, right? What we're talking about is a specific class. Usually it worked with after school programs as like an enrichment, that we're now empowering teachers and paying teachers to actually lead these enrichments with their students. So really excited. We just launched it this past this January, and we're getting tremendous traction and interest. And I'm just so excited because what it's doing is creating a community of people that believe in this, creative way of teaching mathematics and just teaching in general. So really excited for what this year looks like with this new model.
That's excellent. So as you think about all your varied experiences and your STEM journey, Marcus, the youth who is, along with his dad playing the piano, but had that challenge with math, to your time at Morehouse as a math major, to, being in the community as a volunteer, to eventually where you're at now. How would you advise communities, or what sort of wisdom could you impart about the value of STEM education and the connection to either like workforce development or just competencies that support being an able-bodied contributor to the workforce in just varying capacities?
And I really think that STEM education really kind of sets the foundation for, you know, um, those of us that will be entering the workforce. You know, again, especially with the STEAM, the arts integrated aspect. I think what that does is it kind of brings us all together. It doesn't make it seem like, oh, only the technically minded can go this route into the workforce or corporate America. Well, now we're saying that there's an artistic piece that you can add into STEM. You know, again, I just really believe that it brings us all together to let everyone know that anyone can learn, anyone can pursue any type of career path that they're interested in. And, I think that providing a holistic type of employee actually benefits companies down the road. I can definitely remember my first boss at GE bringing me in, challenging me on how I can think creatively about some of the things that they were doing. And, it kind of started tapping into like my music side a little bit because, you know, regular science and math classes don't always feel like that. And I think that they should. When you start to incorporate like, one of the beautiful things about music is improvisation. Like, how are you going to stay within this box, but get creative with finding a solution that feels good, that sounds good, right? And I think having that type of thinking in the STEM fields is what's needed to be able to create some of the solutions I feel like, our humanity needs right now.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on this a bit earlier um, when you spoke to not having the disconnect between your success in science and math. And so I guess my question that I'd love your just thoughts on are for those youth who are maybe interested in STEM, want to, have some sort of level of engagement, but want to explore pathways outside of, medicine, engineering, what have you. And particularly speaking to your passion between piano and math, what sort of encouragement could you give them? Whether it's, finding the through line between passion and STEM, or, being courageous in the exploration of their passions, or just so what sort of advice would you give someone, or even your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I think you said it. I think it's finding your passion, and being comfortable in it, right? That's that that's what you can do, right? And whenever I talk to young people, it's first is what's a passion, right? It's whatever you like to do that no one has to encourage you to do. And it can be anything, right? For me, it was playing the piano, but it could be writing, it could be singing, it could be science, it could be anything. And I always say find your passion and then practice it, because you have to be good at a certain level to be able to speak to it where people will listen, right? And then I always like to say, once you've kind of mastered your passion, to use it to fix a problem. And it really, I hate to simplify it like that, but that's really what I did. Is when I got to a certain level of playing the piano, math was a big problem, and it just started, how can I use the piano to help me with this? I'm really good at this, piano playing piece, but what can I do with it to help here in math? And I think that once you make that connection to using what you love and what you're good at to solving a problem, you'll be able to do it. And then you'll be able to form it to help others. And I think that's the mindset. But I think first it starts with owning your passion, because oftentimes young people see other people doing well and they're like, oh, I want to do that. Well, you may not have, the God given gift or skills to go that route with the way that they're doing it, right? You have to look in and say, here's what I'm good at. But what I would also say for the youth is challenge your teachers. I feel like I didn't push back enough in high school with, no, like, I'm here because I'm a good student. I need you to do your job to help me connect the dots, you know? And I think it's, holding teachers accountable to just to tell them, like, look, I'm not getting it. I want to get it. Um, and I think it's the teacher's job to start to think outside the box for the students that, didn't get the lesson as presented, right? And it's tough, but this is why it's important to get to know your students, right? To know who they are, to know what they like, so that you can speak their language to engage them. And it lets them know at the end of the day that you care, right? And that's really what created my big issue. I was like, I don't feel like y'all care for me to get this. And that's what bothered me the most. And that's honestly a lot of the fuel that drives me today, is that I see so many students that want to get it, that want the opportunity to learn and to shine. And they aren't always connected with the teacher that can connect with them. And so what ends up happening, sometimes a lot of those Black and brown students are pushed towards special ed when they may not necessarily need that, or they're, shunned in the classroom to where that's where behavior problems start. But again, if teachers take the time to, again, going back to culture, understand a student's story, where they come from, being able to speak, their language and relate to them, that makes all the difference. No student's going to turn away a teacher that shows that they care, right? And so hopefully that answers the question, but it was really around the sense of students need to push back on their teachers to be like, look, I'm here, we're in this together. I believe you can get me to the finish line, but I just need an alternative way to look at some of these things. And I think that, along with understanding your passion, is the way to do it.
Yeah. So a couple of questions. This has been just great. As you think about continuing the work, there is the direct work with school districts. There is now the Make Music Count Academy. Are there any other stakeholders locally, any other sorts or types of organizations that you're going to engage that can help support, promote, or add depth to the community that you're serving?
Yes. So this is also kind of, things that have kind of happened because of the pandemic. It kind of lets you take a step back and think about where you want to take things. So we're actually starting to work with children's hospitals, um, both as offering our app as a curriculum for kids that have longer stays in the hospital, but also being able to connect to things like music therapy. And how can this app, how does it affect, like, the brain and all of that. And so, you know, I know that what we've made is really unique, and I'm just interested in helping as many people as we can in whatever avenue that means. So, you know, I really do think that working with schools is definitely at our core. You know, I think that this creative way of thinking should be in a classroom. I think that our model for empowering teachers is definitely important. Um, and I think that, you know, being able to connect in the healthcare space is going to be valuable as well. And if I were to add a third, um, I think we're gonna start working with a lot of music industry people as well, being able to show artists that their music doesn't just make people feel good, but it's helping people get better in education. And I think that's a really great addition to the power of music, and that, you know, it's not something that you can just box, right? And just put it in one area. You know, music is so powerful and wonderful, right? That we should be seeing how it can be used in all these different areas. So um, you know, I'm very creative with how I approach this, but again, it's just from the perspective of, you know, I want to be helpful any way that we can, because this works. You know, I've been doing this for 8 years, and we've been able to reach the students that people deemed as unreachable. You know, been able to engage students that, you know, don't do any work in the semester, and that's something that should be scaled and used, you know, worldwide. So that's how I view where we're going to be headed.
Outstanding. Um, so that sort of wraps the questions that I have for you this afternoon. We'll give a couple of minutes for folks to drop in any questions into the chat. But
Sure.
while you're doing that, can you tell us where to find you? So give us all your social handles, your email if you're willing to provide that, the
Yeah.
website for Make Music Counts, all of the things.
Yes. So I'm on social media. So Instagram and Twitter. You can find me by just doing @_ make music count. So that's for Instagram and Twitter. My Facebook page is Make Music Count LLC, even though I'm not an LLC anymore, but that's how the page is set up. I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel which has examples of lessons inside of the app. So if you just search Make Music Count, will pop right up. My website is makemusiccount.com. And yeah, please email me. My email address is Marcus, Marcus, at makemusiccount.com. And yeah, I would love to, if you're a teacher interested in the Make Music Count Academy, just send me an email. It's very easy to learn. It's a turnkey operation on purpose. And where else can you find me? I think that's it. I think that's it. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I don't see any notes in the chat, but again, I encourage everyone to reach out to Marcus and Make Music Count. They provide just a just fantastic service and an opportunity to build math confidence, you know, in a way that's culturally relevant, super excited kids, and hopefully encourages them to continue their engagement in STEM opportunities as they arise. If you have any questions for us at NIMSY, you can reach us at customerservice@nms.org. And you can also join us for our fourth conversation in the STEM Pathway series coming up soon with Brandon Williams of Seeds to STEM. That'll be on February 23rd at 11:30 Central. And Mr. Blackwell, I will leave it to you to close out with any final words.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to be able to share today. Um, and if anything, you know, I really would love, what I want my music count to do is to serve as an example of how it's important to think outside the box when we consider educating our youth. So, you know, I did math and the piano, but hopefully this can encourage somebody to connect, you know, history and science, right? And just the idea that I really think it's odd that everything is taught so separate. And I think that we should look into how subjects integrate. Again, just from the perspective of you've got a whole classroom of kids, everyone's got different passions and things that they like. So, let's think about how we can get more creative and, present some new curriculum, right? Like,
That's it.
why not? Why not? Who said that we have to stay with what we've been given in the standards and everything, right? Like we're all here working together to help kids get better, and it just takes some creativity, in my opinion. So
It just takes some creativity. I think that is a bumper sticker or a hashtag. Well, I appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and conclude for this afternoon. Again, folks, you know where to find Mr. Blackwell, Make Music Count on the App Store and on this website. And we thank you for being part of the STEM Pathway Conversations. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.